Good afternoon, Grace Chapel family. Happy to be here with you on Monday, June 5th. It's been a week since I did my last recording. Last week was one of those weeks that just kept on coming. I felt a little sick in the middle of the week, some allergy symptoms. So that's something new for me. But definitely much better now, and had a good weekend with the family, and also just a good weekend with the church. So glad you're connecting with us here. We're in the middle of Job, and we're picking up in Job chapter 11. Job has been in response with his friends. I don't think we're going to go much longer in Job's response with his friends. I think we'll conclude out today. It continues to be back and forth for the rest of the book, and then we're going to go directly starting tomorrow with God's response to Job, because God eventually does appear and provide the response that Job has been looking for, the quote-unquote vindication that he's been looking for all along. So today we're going to be looking at Job's last friend that hasn't spoken yet, Zophar, the Naamathite. So Zophar is the third friend. There's going to be a fourth person that's going to show up at some point. He's the young, youthful one. But Zophar is the third friend that we've encountered, third person to speak against Job in the book. There's been a steady progression with Job. Zophar is specifically going to be bringing up what the others have already brought up and kind of responding to Job from what we saw in the last time we connected in chapters 8 through 10. So I'm going to go ahead and read chapters 11 through 14. We're not reading everything. There's going to be some skipping. You'll see a little red dot. I'm skipping a section. Feel free to read the whole section. I just wanted to give you the overall basis of the conversation, the argument, and I'm skipping out sections where the argument kind of is repeated. So let's go ahead and take a look at the text, starting in Job chapter 11, verse 1. And Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, "Should a multitude of words go unanswered, and a man full of talk be judged right? Should your babble silence men, and when you mock shall no one shame you? For you say my doctrine is pure, and that I am clean in God's eyes. But oh, that God would speak and then open his lips to you, that he would tell you the secrets of wisdom, for he is manifold in understanding. Know then that God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. Can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? It is higher than the heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol, what can you know? That his measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he passes through and imprisons and summons the court, who can turn him back? For he knows worthless men. When he sees iniquity, will he not consider it? But a stupid man will get understanding when a wild donkey's colt is born a man. If you prepare your heart, and you will stretch out your hands towards him. If iniquity is in your hand, put it far away, and let not injustice dwell in your tents. Surely then you will lift up your face without blemish. You will be secure, and you will not fear. You will forget your misery, and you will remember as waters that have passed away. And your life will be brighter than the noonday. Its darkness will be like the morning. And you will feel secure because there is hope. You will look around and take your rest in security. You will lie down and none will make you afraid. Many will court your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail, and all way of escape will be lost to them. And their hope is to breathe their last. Job then replies. Job answers and says, "No doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know such things as these? I am a laughingstock to my friends. I, who called to God, and he answered me. A just and blameless man am a laughingstock. In the thought of one who is at ease, there is contempt for misfortune. It is ready for those whose feet slip. The tents of robbers were at peace, and those who provoke God are secure, who bring their God in their hand." Skipping down a little bit. "With God are wisdom and might. He has counsel and understanding. If he tears down, none can rebuild. If he shuts a man in, none can open. If he withholds the waters, they dry up. If he sends them out, they overwhelm the land. With him are strength and sound wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He leads counselors away stripped, and judges he makes fools. He loosens the bonds of kings and binds a waistcloth on their hips. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows the mighty. He deprives of speech those who are trusted and takes away the discernment of elders. He pours contempt on princes and loosens the belt of the strong. He uncovers the deeps out of darkness and brings to deep darkness to light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and leads them away. He takes away understanding from the chiefs of the people and makes them wander in trackless waste. They grope in the dark without light, and he makes them stagger like a drunken man. Behold, my eye has seen all of this. My ear has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. But I would speak to the Almighty. I desire to argue my case with God. As for you, you whitewashed with lies. You worthless physicians are you all. Skipping down. Let me have silence, and I will speak, and let come on me what may. What shall I take my flesh in my teeth, and put my life in my hand? Though he slay me, I will hope in him, yet I will argue my ways to his face. Or then call, and I will answer, or let me speak in your reply to me. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and count me as your enemy? Will you frighten a driven leaf and pursue dry chaff? For you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth. You put my feet in the stocks and watch all of my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet. Man wastes away like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten. Man who is born of woman is few in days and full of trouble. He comes out like a flower and withers. He flees like a shadow and continues not. Or do you open your eyes to such a one and bring me into judgment with you? Who can bring a clean thing out of unclean? There is not one. Since his days are determined and the number of his months is with you, and you have appointed his limits that he cannot pass. Look away from him, leave him alone, that he may enjoy a hired hand in his day. Like a hired hand in his day. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my service I would wait till my renewal should come. You would call, and I would answer you. You would long for the work of your hands, for then you would number my steps, and you would not keep watch over my sin. My transgression would be sealed up in a bag, and you would cover over my iniquity. This is the final kind of cry of Job. And so let's go back up to the argument and what's being made. So sorry for if you're looking at the left-hand side of the screen, it's going by fast, I recognize. But we read a pretty decent section. So far it starts off, and I love how my title actually really gives you what's being said. Basically, he's telling Job you deserve worse than you got. And we've seen this steady progression of Job's friends who were with him and spent 7 days and nights sitting by his side, not saying a word, now responding to him based on what wisdom they have, and their responses continue to get worse. So Zophar now says, look, you deserve worse. You deserve worse than you got. And so we see that. And so verse 2 and 3, he says, look, I can't let you continue to speak without responding. And I think, again, sometimes this is a judgment that we need to be cautious of. Sometimes people are speaking and they're emotional and they're frustrated, or there's a circumstance going on and they're expressing how they feel. And our response is condemnation and to correct their words. And I think sometimes it's better off just to leave that fool in their folly and let them say what they're going to say and not answer the fool according to his folly. Sometimes there is a point in time, lest the Proverbs say, there's 2 Proverbs back to back. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. Don't answer a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him. And there's these 2 constantly thinking about Proverbs that we need to be thinking through. Is this a time where I answer him, or is this a time where I just leave him alone and let his folly be its own? I think in this instance so far, if Job was speaking folly, he should have just left it alone. Verse 4, he sums up Job's folly. He says, you say your doctrine is pure and that you're clean in God's eyes. And he says, verse 5, oh, that God would speak to you and open his lips to you. So now Zophar is judging for God that Job is not clean, that he is not righteous, that he is not pure before God. And so he verse 6 says he would tell you the secrets of wisdom. And then know then, I love how he says in verse 6, God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. He's being very clear. He believes Job's punishment is at least what he's owed. He then goes on to talk about the manifold wisdom of God. And he speaks on that specifically verses 7 through 10. And Job's actually going to key off on that. And he's actually going to go even further in describing the manifold wisdom and knowledge and power of God. Verse 11, Zophar kind of says, well, for he knows worthless men, and when he sees iniquity, will not consider it. He says, look, Job, he knows what iniquity looks like. And if you're getting this kind of punishment, obviously you deserve it. And he's obviously giving you probably less than you even deserve. Verse 12, statement's kind of weird. Zophar's either staying in verse 12 when he says, but a stupid man will get understanding when a wild donkey's colt is born. Oh, man. It's two possible ways of interpreting the Hebrew phrase here. Either is, as the ESV has interpreted, that a wild donkey's colt turns into a man. Or, probably more likely, I think, I'm actually going to disagree with the ESV here, and that the Hebrew here would mean, and this is other scholars, not me, that the person will come to understand God would be like a wild donkey that has become tamed. Now, the wild donkey's colt becoming a man is certainly impossible, but it's virtually nearly as impossible to train a wild donkey and to tame one. And so that's kind of the point. It's impossible to train a fool. It's impossible for a fool to gain the intelligence, just as like it's impossible for a wild donkey to become trained. Either way, the metaphor stays. So then he tells him to prepare his heart, stretch out his hands to God, and if iniquity is in your hand, put it far away from you. He's like, repent of your sin, that kind of thing. And here's the thing. If you do good, verses 15 through 19, if you do good, nothing bad will happen to you. And that's again the insistence of Job's friends. This is the insistence of what they believe. If you do good, good will happen to you. You do bad, bad will happen to you. And so because something bad has happened to you, you must have done evil. And we've been talking about how we can't make that assertion. We don't always know why God allows bad things to happen. And we can't assert that because something bad has happened, that this person is a bad person. So we just have to be cautious in doing that. So Job then replies, and he starts off, and he says, no doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. This is kind of more of communicating the idea of that, oh, you are the people that contain all wisdom. You have all knowledge. And so if you die, all of wisdom and knowledge will die with you. It's very, very sarcastic of a response. Now, verse 3, he says, well, I have understanding as well, not inferior. I know those things too. Those things that you're claiming, I know them. I believe them. I held to them. And in fact, now, verse 4, I'm a laughingstock to my friends. I, who called to the Lord, and he answered me. He's like, I'm a just and blameless man. I have done nothing wrong, but yet now I'm a laughingstock. In the thought of the one who is at ease, there is content for misfortune. He's saying, look, you guys aren't having any problems, and you're not having any issues, and so you have contempt for me, and you think that there must be something wrong with me because I'm experiencing something bad. And he says, look, the tents of robbers are at peace, and those who provoke the Lord or God are secure. But he says, but not me. Not me. He then goes on and describes how God is wise and what we can find that by. And then verses 13 and following, he has this dissertation of sorts of how great God is and what all God does and how no one can stop God. And he takes every aspect of society and he basically states God is greater. And God can turn it on its head and can make the most wise person a fool. He can make the most powerful person a servant. He can deprive a prince of their praise. He can even take those who uncover the deepest darkness and bring them into darkness. And that is the kind of idea. Verse 23, even, he makes nations great and he destroys them. He enlarges nations and leads them away. Job has a very strong view of God's sovereignty, of what God is capable of and what God does. And so he kind of gives this dissertation of such and says, look, I understand. God is in control of all those things, and I'm not saying he's not. Obviously, God has things against me. And that's where he says next, he says, ultimately, I'm not inferior to you. He says it again. I understand these things. I know how sovereign God is, how great he is. But I would love to just argue my case with God. He's like, you're lying to me and you're a worthless physician. I wish you'd just keep your mouth shut. But listen, because you're speaking falsely for God. That's what he says in verse 7. We didn't read that. But I want God to speak to me. And he says, let me have silence and I will speak, and let come on me what may. He's like, you know what? He's like, if God, let me have my silence. Don't speak to me. Let me say whatever I want to say. He's like, and I'm not trying to put my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hand. I'm not out to cause trouble. He's like, but ultimately, let me say what I'm going to say. And if God's going to slay me, if he's going to kill me, I'm going to still hope in him. Because the reality is there's no other place to hope. Yet in that hope that I have towards him, I'm going to argue my ways to his face because I haven't done anything wrong. And that's what he begins to say. This will be my salvation. Then he says, verse 22, let me call and I will answer. Let me speak and you reply to me. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know. God, tell me what my transgressions and my sins are. Why are you hiding your face? Why do you count me as an enemy? Why do you frighten the driven leaf? There's nothing left of me. Why do you pursue dry chaff? Why? If you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth, this is where he's like, look, he's like, if you're out after some sins that I committed when I was young, okay, right? All right, but just tell me. Man wastes away like a rotted thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten. And then he continues and goes on and talks about death soon comes to all. Talks about how death is ultimately the end, and how God has numbered the months and the days, and he's appointed limits for man, and nothing, he can't go beyond that. And he asks God, please just look away from him, leave him alone, that he may enjoy like a hired hand his day. He's like, I get one day, I get just this little brief moment of life. Just let me enjoy what little bit's here before you bring me to the end. And verses 14 and following, he says, if man dies, shall he live again? All the days of my service, I would wait till my renewal should come. There's this element of which Job is looking for something more, something eternal, something lasting, something after death. But he doesn't really know. And he says, you would call and I would answer. You would long for the work of your hands, but then you would number my steps. You would not keep watch over my sin. He's like, God, I want you to not watch over my sin. And instead that you would cover over my iniquity. You forgive me. You'd let it go. And that's where Job kind of ends his statement. And I think that this is the cry of Job, that God would release him from his iniquities, that he would have an advocate before God, and that God would deal with him in mercy and kindness. Because if he's done something wrong, he's willing to admit it, he just doesn't know what he's done wrong. And Job wants to contend his case before God. And starting tomorrow, we're going to look at God allowing Job to contend he's going to get his request. He's going to get his request. And we're going to see what God says in regards to that request. So, God bless you all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and look forward to spending some time with you in the text again tomorrow. Take care. God bless.